Well, as promised, I told you I'll be back with the show Sport On. Thank you, of course, so much for joining us once again for another episode of the show. And of course, Wakabi is my co-pilot all the time. Wakabi, it's been a very interesting weekend. And I want to use that reference, co-pilot, because this weekend, Formula One, it's been something else.
Yes, Formula One season 2023 is on, and they don't normally have co-pilots, but I get where you're coming from. But interesting to see the start of it. Interesting to see the things that happened on the first race. A bit of history done. Verstappen finally winning in Bahrain. Aston Martin surprising everyone. It's been that kind of weekend where you think, this is going to be fun. Apologies to all Lewis Hamilton fans. It seems like the wait has to go on for just a little bit longer. And the dominance of Red Bull, of course, will be something that we'll be talking about on and on and on. And the question tonight we ask, I'm sure you're wondering why we're talking about Formula One. We'll find out in the course of the show. And I'm sure you've seen in the timeline in terms of our social media pages who will be hosting as well tonight. We are asking you, can Fernando Alonso, he's won it 2 times, be the dark horse in Formula One this season? Can he be the dark horse in the Formula One this season? Remember to send in your sentiments at Bernard Ndong, at Jay Wakabi, at NTV Kenya. Remember the hashtag to use is Spot On, and we'll be sampling your responses during this live broadcast. Wakabi. Yes, interesting to see because of the way he started. He reminds me of what happened in 2009 when Bar Honda came on with Jenson Button. Whenever you have a shift in the way the cars are, whenever there's a huge shift in the mechanics of the car, something happens. Alonso looked very good. Aston Martin looked very good. However, like you said, Red Bull, bigger budget, better driver, I think in the end will be the car to beat.
Absolutely. Let's shift gears to something else.
Pun intended.
Pun intended. Let's leave motorsport and focus on the golf green. Wakabi, a big tournament is coming up in the next few days.
Yes, it's the annual time in Kenya where everything else stops, and you've got the event of the year as far as... Actually, I think it would be the event of the year nowadays as far as Kenyan sports is concerned. You've got 4 days of golf. It's at a very high level. It's at the European Tour. So the magical Kenya Open comes, and it's that time when nothing else matters in this country. Everyone becomes an enthusiast. Everyone learns what is under par and what is over and what's a bogey. And we all get involved in it because Magical Kenya Open has moved over the years from being just a golfing event to being a social event, to being an event where everyone wants to go. And from Thursday to Sunday, I think that will be the main thing.
Right. And indeed, joining us on the show tonight, we're privileged and honored to have the tournament director, Mr. Patrick Obath. And we also have Madam Caroline Kendi. She's the Chief Marketing Officer, ABSA Kenya. Thank you so much for joining us. It's finally here. I know it's been a crazy 1 week for everyone involved, but I'll start with you, Mr. Obath. What should we expect in the 2023 edition?
The 2023 edition has got one key difference from a lot of the earlier ones. The prize money is now at $2 million. And that means that with the advent of what is called live golf, where the money is crazy, the DP World Tour and the PGA in the US has had to respond. So they've raised the minimum money that has to be available to qualify to be in the DP World Tour to 2 million shillings as a prize money. That means that the quality of players you're going to get from the golfing circuit is going to be much higher than before, when we were at about $1.3, $1.4 million as prize money. So that's 600,000 increase. Means that in the field this year, we are having 2 Ryder Cup players out of, they normally have about 12.
Yes.
So 2 of them are coming to play here. We have never had the Ryder Cup players coming on their own volition. They normally come because we are giving them a special offer, like, we'll give you a week's safari in the Masai Mara or something like that. Then they'll come. But this time they're coming on their own volition. That means the quality of play is going to be, let me, for want of a better word, say 30% higher than it was last year. That's the big thing.
And Patrick, when you look at the growth of Kenya Open, the magical Kenya Open especially in the last few years, from the Challenge Tour to the European Tour, it's really, really grown. What does that do for the game and for the competition itself?
What it does, obviously, as I say, the prize money goes up. So the competition to qualify to get in has got to be, you've got to be a serious golfer for that event. When we had it as a Challenge Tour, I used to be able to sort of reciprocate between Kenya and the rest of Europe about 30 or 40 players. Now I'm allowed 8 only, right? And that shows you that they don't want to sort of have a lot of people coming from all over the place into those competitions. Yeah. So you've really got to get the cream of the cream. When we moved up into the DP World Tour, as it is called now, we decided to create what is called the Safari Tour. And the Safari Tour was to give our local pros an opportunity to play at a different level. They never used to have regular play as pros amongst themselves. And the beauty about it is that as we started, and I think we're supported by ABSA all through that time, they actually sponsored quite a few of the events that we had at the very beginning. You began to get players from Zambia, Zimbabwe, South Africa, Nigeria coming to play in Kenya, which meant that our local pros had to up their game. And we are seeing the rewards of that now, because playing the same courses, they are playing under a lot more now than they used to play then. So that's the difference. Better quality locally, and also, I think, more competition from around the region.
Kendi, let me bring you into the conversation. Of course, ABSA has been supporting golf for many years. And I just want to understand, pumped in 70 million this time round, and also there's a very interesting incentive for the 8 golfers that you'll be supporting this time round.
Yeah, so I think when you think about golf as a sport, it's a very interesting, and I'm a new golfer, so I'm not. I'll approach.
At least you are ahead of the both of us.
Exactly, exactly. I'm approaching cautiously, but when you look at golf and you look at the sport, it's actually a very personal experience, right? Because you challenge yourself. Yeah. And the process of playing golf is, if you understand how a golf course is even laid out, there's a lot of, challenges. It's actually, you have to overcome a lot of challenges, and that's actually what ABSA as a brand stands for. So historically, as Barclays, we supported golf, and it was the Barclays Kenya Open. As we've transitioned into a new brand, ABSA is really about, that's what we call Africanacity, the spirit of being able to overcome challenges. Being an African and a Kenyan, every day you're dealing with challenges, right? And I think that's what really the game brings to life. So why we do it is because it's a sport that really helps, and you have to be a great golfer. It's really about how you're able to overcome the challenges and find creative ways to get things done. And that, we believe, is such a great, is a really close, and it's close to what we stand for as a brand. So that's sort of why we do it. We are a bank, and we're a brand that's there to help Kenyans navigate their financial challenges and come up with solutions to help them get things done. And therefore, for us, it's a great opportunity. The second thing is it's a great social event, and it gives us a great opportunity to connect with our customers, get people to come and talk to us and understand who we are as a brand, what do we have for them. So we have a lot of opportunity as a brand, and it also creates spaces for people to network, right? I mean, businesses are actually built off and on the course, right? So it really gives an opportunity for people to engage. When it comes to the pros, again, because we celebrate the Africanacity, and the pros, we're just saying, again, being a professional sports person in this country is not the easiest thing, right? To actually choose to earn your money 100% from sport. So really, we as a brand, we thought, how can we give them an incentive? So overall, in the tournament, we put 70 million. But for the pros, it's an additional 2.7 million, where we're giving them some money to just help them, release their minds so that they can actually play. And then an incentive, if they make it to the top 10, they get some money, 500K. And if they make it to the top 20, 500K, and top 10, $1 million. So we're also giving them an incentive so that they can win, and we can celebrate the Africanacity.
But the incentive is half an M if you get into the top 20. What do you think are the chances of our pros this year of squeaking or forcing their way into the top 20?
It's a very difficult thing to try and predict that, because, I play golf, and there's a day I wake up from bed and I say, today I'm going to play a certain figure. And I arrive at the course and I play the exact opposite in the different direction, right? So to try and predict who's going to win,
yes,
is not an easy thing. But what we can say is that, looking at the performance during the season with the Safari Tour, the rankings that we have at the moment is such that we believe that that is their chances of playing that way. Unfortunately, when you see during the season how they play, there are people who play not at the top of their game, but on the sort of their, you know, their level 1 minus a half, yeah, at that whatever it is, and they keep playing at that level, and they win because they are consistent at that level. Yet there are those who jump to the top and win, jump to the top and win, but they only win once and then they go down. So I would on the basis of just being consistent, I think there's Greg Snow, who's been very consistent right through, and then there is and then we have Daniel Nduva, who's also been very consistent, and those two are the ones who have been consistent through the whole season. They've been sort of featuring round about the same position every time. There are others like Justice Madoya, who's won a couple of times, but then in between he falls down a bit. But if you take his average, he's on the same as the other three. So those are the three top ones I would actually put in terms of being able to qualify and make the cut. And then to reach the sort of the you know, that level that has been set by ABSA, I think that will now be dependent on which side of the bed they wake up. But
I think it's possible. I think given the history of the championship of Kabi, I think last season we almost had somebody at least doing something spectacular. Many years back, I think in the early 90s, remember Jacob Okello Kabi?
Yeah, Jacob Okello maybe closest.
He's the closest to winning.
Doing something. Yeah, he lost in the playoff.
He lost in the playoff, yeah.
A few years ago he had, was it Ngige who was 25th?
Ngige, yes, also did that.
Yes, so every once in a while
we also had Ali
Ali
Kimani. I think people tend to forget him.
Oh yeah,
yes.
Ali Kimani from Vetlab, he made the cut, and he actually was leading one day.
Yes.
And then all of a sudden the whole of Kenya came out and boom, he went down.
which again, and same thing with Angkor, with Indiza. 2008, I think, top 10.
Yeah.
So we've had glimpses of it, and I guess part of it is also just how you deal with the pressures that come with it. Yeah. Maybe we should just highlight, Bernard, that some of the golfers they're supporting, Nduva is one of them, Njoroge, Ngige is the other one, Indiza, then the young man.
We focused on him.
Yes, Madoya, and then the young boy from last year. So I call him young boy, but young man. And Njoroge Kifogo and his brother. Yeah. So there is a number of guys that ABSA is supporting just to make sure that let's give you guys a chance. Other than the golf, what else happens on the side? Because like we said, it's a social event as well. So there is the golf, which is incredible. But then Bernard, who has a huge liking for the other bits, wants to know what's the other things ABSA are doing and Magical Kenya Open to make everyone want to go there.
Okay, so as I said earlier, it's a great opportunity for us to network. So what we do is every night, starting Wednesday night, we actually have what we call customer engagement evenings. So on Wednesday, we start with the creative economy. So we're sitting with a few influencers, and we're really trying to talk to engage with them to see how best can we support them as a brand and as a bank to navigate their problems and their financial challenges. Then on Thursday, we have our corporate customers, so we engage that. On Friday, we have our business banking. And then on Saturday and Sunday is literally just enjoying ourselves, enjoying the fashion, enjoying the sport. You know, we talk about passion points, yeah? In marketing, we talk about what people are passionate about. Yes. So that's what we are just hoping to do, is get people to connect. You know, we've just come from COVID, and really, you know, once upon a time, we were all locked up in our houses, right? Just the other day. Yes. So even just the opportunity to interact and to connect with people, I think is a blessing, and which we're happy to be able to facilitate and actually create that space.
Mr. Bath, she's just touched on something, and I just thought about it, about the pageantry of the Kenya Open, the jacket that is given to the winner on Sunday. The color is red, obviously, for obvious reasons. But just tell us about the inspiration.
It is not red. They've got a special name for that color.
Okay. They've got a special one. Okay.
There is a special name for that
Bernard's
color.
sake, we'll just say red.
You know, my color wheel is
red.
My color wheel is very small.
Your color wheel is the 7 of the rainbow.
The rainbow, yeah?
Richard of York.
Richard of York. So
Richard of York, yeah?
Yes.
Vibgio, I think that's one I remember.
Okay.
Yeah, that jacket actually, when it was still the Challenge Tour event, and about to get into the European Tour, then DP World Tour now, we said that we really need to develop something unique, local, that we could don onto people when they won, right? And ABSA came up with the idea then and said, why don't we hold a competition amongst all the fashion designers in the country? And so they put up an RFQ, so to speak, and people applied. It was in the newspapers, people applied. And then they went through an independent judging process to get to the final one that was chosen. And I remember looking at it, and I asked, so what is special about it? When you look from the inside, the piping on the inside was actually unique. right? There's a special sort of cloth that is put on the inside. And then at the back, there is this cut that you have. That thing is also inside there as well. So everywhere you go to it, I mean, there are some unique features on that jacket. And that is why it was chosen to be the one that won that particular year. And we were happy with it. I mean, it's a unique color, right? So we've actually adopted that. It doesn't matter what happens in the future, that is going to be the color of jacket that will be worn, will be the official jacket for the Magical Kenya Open. And that was one, I think that was also the agreement we had with ABSA, that that will become a legacy issue. And doesn't matter what happens, that is a jacket that we will want every year.
Okay.
So that's like the green jacket they have in the Masters. We want to have the red jacket for the Kenya Open.
And for that jacket, for example, I'm interested in finding out, because obviously people have different sizes.
Sizes, yeah.
So what usually happens, because I'm guessing, obviously they will not be the same size like the person who won last year. What usually happens? How do you prepare for such an?
There is somebody who carries several jackets to the event. And there, there's actually, the small, medium, large, and extra large.
Yeah. Right.
Those 4 arrive, right?
Okay.
And generally speaking, they're the right size.
Like you have a range.
Yeah, and each of those normally takes a range of body, yeah? So that we've never gone wrong, actually. Since we started doing it, every time we've had the jacket, we picked one of those 4.
Plus, I am assuming, by the time it's moving day on Saturday, by the time you're looking at the leaderboard,
you have an idea.
Who are the top guys? Who there has got
what are their
broad shoulders? Who's smaller? So when you're carrying them on the day, you have a rough idea of who to pick, what to pick. I think you also have to do a bit of that, because you can't come with you can. By day 3, we know. We know the winner is coming from maybe these 3 or 4 guys.
And the sizes are not that diverse.
They can't be that diverse, because they're all fit. Like me, for example, they're all fit. So you can tell. You can go wrong by not by more than a centimeter or 2. Patrick, everyone knows Kenya Open happens, but maybe people don't understand how much work goes in the background. Like, how many volunteers do you have to use? How many people in total, for example, work just to make it happen?
Okay, let me start building the figures. So the board that starts is 9 people, right? And that is a conceptualization of the event and sort of putting it together, doing all the budgets and doing all the necessary protocols and policies. And then you now expand to the organizing committee, right? And the organizing committee, the operations committee, is about 30 people, right? And then if you take that from the operation committee, now you take into everything else, we normally have about 1,300 people, right? So you talk about security, there's a whole bunch of people there. You talk about marshalling, there's a whole bunch of people there. You talk about carrying boards, a whole bunch of people who are doing that. You've got the people who actually keep the course in the condition that it's supposed to be. That's a whole bunch of people as well, yeah? And then you've got the people who are handling the logistics, right? There's people who are doing all the catering. That's another bunch of people. There are people who are driving them backwards and forwards in those places. I'll also add the hotel where they're staying. There's also people who are looking after that. I mean, it just keeps adding on and
There's
on
a security.
and on and on. So security is there. We've got, and we've got both our own security that we hire, plus also the government, right? We have security people from there, overt and covert security. We've also got people from Kenya Forest Services, because, a Gulf estate is a large part, is a large area. And if you're talking about 200 plus acres, the best people who know how to look after forests are the Kenya Forest Service. So they also come in and help us in that kind of stuff. So it's a large, it's over 1,000 people that are actually working there. Some paid, like the contracting of security services. You can't get volunteer security people, yeah? But all the other things are volunteers. And we really want to thank the people who volunteer to help us put this on board. For us as a board, we are all volunteers as well. And literally everybody else who's a golfer is a volunteer in that place. And for since it became a DP World Tour event, we are having volunteers from Uganda, some from Tanzania, and I think this year, for the first time, we're having somebody from the UK coming in as a volunteer. So volunteerism is growing. It has shrunk, but now it's growing again.
Okay.
Yeah.
Kendi, there's also something fascinating that ABSA has been doing as well. Last year, they were doing something with environment, Buddies for Hope. This year, what do we expect with that campaign as well?
So again, it is the same activation or reward. So what we do is because we are committed, and I like what he's talking about. Climate change is such a topical issue now, right? With everything that's going around with food security and everything. So our commitment is to plant and grow 10 million trees. So what we do is for everybody, we commit to plant a tree, and we're planning to plant, I think, up to maybe from the tournament, maybe 100, 200 trees. And that's what we call the Buddies for Good. So, I mean, really seeing how, again, we can make sure that after the tournament, we're actually contributing and driving, a sustainable future. And as a brand, we are being actually a force for good, because we are part of the community, and we're consistently trying to make sure that we are doing the right things as part of the community. So
for Buddies for Good is still on this time round?
It's still on.
Okay.
Yeah, we're going to definitely, you'll be seeing a lot more about that as the tournament progresses.
Okay.
I think I just wanted to follow on to that, because as a tournament, and globally with the DP World Tour, there is a big drive towards sustainability, right? And since last year, for example, the players we don't give them PET bottles to go around with. They actually have one container, and they're actually getting water around the different parts of the course. So we've also committed to not chopping any trees unnecessarily. So even the putting up of the facilities at the course, tents and what have you and everything else, you used to try and put them under the tent, under the trees, so the tent will be cooler. This time you're saying, no, you have to put it away so that you're not cutting the branches of the tree to fit a tent for the event. Garbage collection also, you've got our garbage collection team, the contractor you've got, and you've told them that they must separate the garbage that they pick up and dispose of it in a responsible manner, and if they can, they recycle waste as well. So we are getting into that situation, and we are getting a global organization to come and measure how well we are doing in terms of sustainability. So we are going to graduate to also trying to reduce the energy footprint that we have as an event. So we are going to be asking our people in the future to come with solar lighting, what have you, and so forth. So it's going to be an interesting journey on sustainability. Yeah.
The entertainment bit.
Yeah.
Again, I'm taking care of the people who may not understand a lot of golf, but want to come there.
Are you speaking for yourself for coming?
Yeah. No. Here's the thing. Here's the thing. At some point in the future, we learn how to play the game of golf.
Yes.
Somewhere in the future. But I hear you don't necessarily have to know what's happening in the golf. There's entertainment on Saturday and on
right through all the 4 days. Yeah.
Yes.
We actually, when we started this village, we have a village at the golf course. We were borrowing a leaf from rugby. Rugby, people never used to understand it. How do whole grown men go around bumping each other and throwing this strange ball around? Yeah.
Yes.
Football people could understand, but rugby they couldn't. And then rugby got caught onto this thing, and they started having a place where people could go and sit down and drink and whatever it is, and it whole caught up. And then the rugby sevens became a big thing. So we took a leaf from that and said, can we use the same principle in golf and try and get people to come to watch golf, even if they don't go onto the course? They can sit in the village, and they have a big screen, and they can sit with their friends who can explain to them what golf is. And hopefully that's going to attract them to the game. So that was where the concept of the village came. And it's been extremely successful. So we are going to continue with the traditional, with the format that we have. We are going to have artists on every night. Thursday is going to just be a quiet, quiet music night. Friday, then it picks up, and Saturday
pumping it up,
like that.
Sunday,
and then Saturday is
it's
going to be finished with a bang. We are still trying to get people to leave at 2 o'clock in the morning, but we've not been successful. Some people have been crawling out in the morning to go home from the village.
Yes.
And for us, that's good success. Yeah. Okay. The fact that people come through. We've seen that when you started the village, all of a sudden, the attendance almost trebled the first time we put a village, and it stayed consistently at that level. Okay. So this year again, we're doing that. I can't release the names of the stars today. We'll be able to release it tomorrow.
As long as there is promise.
There is promise. It is there. It's happening.
Yes.
There's a village. Come round and enjoy. right? And as usual, we are not going to throw you out even if you stay beyond the time that we require. You can continue. You can do like my tribesmen do.
Yes.
You order a crate
Okay.
before closing time, and then you continue with it. That's fine. You know,
Yeah.
we'll see that.
And another interesting
Yes.
aspect of the village this year is also we're going to be celebrating small businesses.
Right.
You know, we have you know, a section in the village where we're celebrating, because you see, part of the whole village experience is also the vendors, and we're giving an opportunity for people to showcase their, you know, their skills and their products. You know, small businesses. So even as ABSA, we're inviting some of our our SME customers. So we'll also be showcasing that. So it's going to be a holistic experience. It's like entertainment. It's, you know, seeing you know, exciting, you know, products that people are working. So it's really going to be a fun experience for everybody.
Oh,
And I think
absolutely
we've
fantastic.
our main sponsor, which is the Ministry of Sports, Youth and the Arts.
Right.
I think that's
Yes.
that's
Yes.
the correct.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. Okay. They're also, although they're sponsoring the golf, they expanded the engagement to also include the creatives. So part of the village is also going to be featuring creatives, not just in terms of music, but they're going to have creatives in terms of fashion, creatives in terms of almost every single area. And so they're going to have a mini bazaar, which is actually, they're going to feature
Right.
a lot of the up-and-coming people in that sector. So that also sort of talks to the same thing about promoting the smaller businesses in the country.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Patrick Obath. Again, this is so much we really appreciate. Thank you so much. I wish I had much more time. I think you can just follow the social media pages of ABSA Kenya, Magical Kenya Open, to get a sense of what else to expect. Hopefully, we'll be able to know which artists will be there. Wakabi, I'm sure will be
You see,
following.
you're concerned with the artist. so that's why it is. But I understand, like you've had days, you have options. You can go for the entertainment, you can go for the business side, you can go for the creative side, or you can go for the golf.
So it's very holistic.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
holistic. There's something for everyone.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Well, we take a very short break. And remember, we touched on this in the beginning of the show. We asked you, in terms of Formula One, Fernando Alonso, do you think he's the dark horse this season, given the performance he had over the weekend at the Bahrain Grand Prix? And after the break, we have a very, very special guest. She's a lady who's actually been at the Formula One, not as a fan, but as an official. All that coming after the break.